A woman reaches a certain age when either someone says to her or her inner critic says, at your age, you shouldn't, you wouldn't, you can't. Well, here on A Certain Age, we celebrate those women who can, who do, and who will do something amazing. Hi, my name is Lee Hayes. I'm your host, and my guest today is Dr. Cathy Lomartra. Dr. Cathy, for years, has been a chiropractor, acupuncturist, nutritionist, but now she's going into semi-retirement for caring for patients, and she's starting a new adventure as an artist. Welcome, Dr. Cathy.
Thank you so much for having me. Congratulations to you on starting this new show. I love it. I love the name, Certain Age, and I can tell you that at this phase in my life, I've never been more certain of my place in the world, my job, my kids, my man, everything that's going on in life, what I like, what I don't like, and it truly is, it's a gift. So thank you for having me.
Oh, wonderful. It's so nice to have you. And tell us a little bit about how long were you a chiropractor and why the change now?
Well, I've been a chiropractor in Brantford on my own for, this year was 30 years. And it's truly a blessing. Brantford's been very good to me. And I'm semi-retired, but I don't see myself in full retirement as a natural healthcare provider. I love the job, I love the patients, and I'm starting to get really good at it.
But now that you're semi-retiring, have you gotten a lot of encouragement to do something new?
Well, I never really looked for encouragement or asked permission of anybody. I just kind of did what I wanted to do, coming up with the idea and moving forward with it. And if it was something that I enjoyed, I just continued to do it. And then everybody just kind of came on board and said, wow, that's really great, and I'm proud of you, and keep going. So everybody's interested and supportive, and it's just awesome to start something new.
Excellent. Well, let's just talk about women in middle age for a minute, because being a healthcare provider, you've dealt with many women who have hit a certain age or menopause. What are some of the changes that women actually go through, both physically and emotionally, hitting middle age?
Well, simplistically speaking, because I think we could do a whole show on it, but simplistically speaking, the woman's body is trying to contend with less estrogen, less progesterone, and as a result of having less of those hormones, there is less of serotonin produced. Serotonin is basically the happy chemical. Antidepressants are called SSRIs, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. And what they seek to do is keep more of the serotonin available, and that's how they ward off depression. And just to let you know, in this country, 1 in 4 women is on antidepressants, and they have their own side effects and their own demons associated with them. And I'm not telling anybody to take them or to not take them. I'm just saying that there are other options for women. Just getting back to serotonin for a second, it's a mood regulator. And when women have that sudden absence of serotonin, they start to feel very angry, very anxious, depressed, they don't sleep, and their self-esteem plummets. As a healthcare practitioner, I'm a natural healthcare practitioner, non-drug, and I wanted a full scope of all my options. So going to my own OBGYN, because I wanted to be of help to my patients certainly, but also myself. I wanted to know, what are the medical options for menopause? And she said to me, well, there's hormone replacement therapy. And I said, well, wait a minute. There was a huge study that indicated that women that went on HRT were at higher risk for strokes and heart attacks. And she just, very bluntly said, it's all we got. And she said, if you have anything else, let me know. So there are other things. So, again, briefly, in a nutshell, what decreases serotonin aside from menopause? Well, 2 things that women generally really love: caffeine and alcohol. Also aspartame, cholesterol medications, and antidepressants themselves also decrease serotonin over time.
But if nothing else, I guess at this stage, women can realize they're not alone, right? It's not I feel depressed, I'm the only one.
It's very common with the drop in hormones, yes. But then some things that you can do to increase your serotonin levels. First is bright light. We're told don't go out in the sun. It's bad for your skin. Go out in the bright light. Get enough of the sun. The sunshine will help to create serotonin in your system. And when you come back from a day at the beach, how good you feel. You get your vitamin D stores up. Vigorous exercise. Walk briskly. That will also increase serotonin levels. There's dietary considerations. Turkey, meats, eggs, greens, nuts. These will all increase your serotonin levels. With herbs, I love wild yam and chaste tree. Excellent results with women with lowered serotonin, hot flashes. There is adrenal support. Not really addressed by the medics, but your adrenals are two walnut-shaped glands that sit on top of your kidneys, and their job is to respond to environmental stresses. So there are some supplements, nutritions, dietary changes that can boost your adrenals and help you to cope with the stress that there could be in your life. And the other caveat, too, is go for quality supplements, because I've had women say to me, Doc, I've tried wild yam or I've tried black cohosh. It didn't really work for me. Well, you've got to get good quality supplements, good pure organic supplements. Best to see some type of a healthcare practitioner that gets the best of the best. And they're usually the best value also because they're going to work. They're effective for what you want them for.
Fantastic. No, those are really great tips. Now, what about emotionally? So we're talking a little bit about the physical issues. Some women, and I know you've talked about this, can actually be emotionally degraded or even publicly degraded because symptoms like hot flashes can be very embarrassing. What do you do if you are emotionally degraded by maybe a man in a meeting or in a public place where maybe you do have a hot flash and you're embarrassed? How do you respond to that?
Well, I can kind of picture, there's a lot of women that are career women, and they're in a big board meeting, and there's a lot of activity. Their credibility is on the line, and I can understand that there's some pressure there. And then you have somebody who's maybe a little bit, a gentleman maybe that chooses to be a little disrespectful and call her out on having a hot flash. I don't know, my response would be, and again, I'm in my own business, so I'm my own boss, but I can say, I have soul rockin' sex with my man. And I might be reaching for something to cool off, but it's better than you reaching for that little blue pill. And then you gotta babysit Junior for 10 or 20 minutes. So there is a silver lining to this as well. The silver lining is that technology is bringing forth the little blue pill into breath mints and rub-ons, which are a little bit more discreet.
Okay, so I see men have their issues too.
Yes,
but,
they do.
That's all right. So now, what should women, is there anything they should say or do? Is there anything that a woman should respond, or I don't know, maybe she shouldn't say anything, but what do you feel?
Well, I just said what I would have said.
What would you say? All right.
That's what I would have said.
But maybe, but do you ever feel that a woman has to explain herself, or you just go on with the next moment?
Move right along. And at this point in a woman's life, most women are, that are at this level very often are career women, and they kind of know how to give it back. Excellent.
So now what about you? Have you're middle-aged, right? Have you slowed down at all, or are you looking for the next thing?
No, I haven't slowed down at all, and my credo is you're green, you grow, you're ripe, you rot. So I always like to, do something that's new, maybe a little bit scary, so that I'm not just stale, and something new gets me up in the morning, gets me researching. I love being in my head. I love to wonder what it would be like to, I don't know, maybe have an adventure and go photograph grizzly bears. When my next thing is the salmon are going up north to spawn, so then the bears are going to come out. What do you say we do a tour and go take some pictures of the bear? I think that would be just the coolest thing.
So don't slow down, keep doing
it depends
things.
on what the woman wants to do. It depends on, I don't know somebody else's background, but you don't have to. It's not like, oh, you're getting older, so you're expected to slow down. Well, don't do anything that anybody expects of you. If you don't feel old, you're feeling good, move it, sister. Just keep going.
Now let's talk about what you're doing. This is what I'm so excited and why you're here. You've started something entirely new. Tell me, how did you get into art? You are an emerging artist.
Well, I love art, but I do have one more thing I wanted to say. I do want to back up a little bit, because you had, said, well, what should a woman do if she is degraded? I had one thing that did happen to me. I was not hot flashing, but I did have one thing that happened to me. I was being deposed. I was in my little office, in my little reception area. A patient had had a motor vehicle accident. So it was a big case. A lawyer from each side came to my office, and they had a court reporter, with the, recording everything. So the opposing attorney was opposite me, and I was being deposed. At this point, it was almost 3 hours of questions regarding the patient's file. And towards the end, like before the last 15 minutes or so, he asked me a question that I would have been speculative. If I answered it, I wasn't about to answer it. He was trying to catch me, and I would not answer the question. It was kind of like that scene from My Cousin Vinny with, it's a trick question. So I wouldn't answer the question. So he was a very tall man. So my office is very small, and we weren't that much further apart than us, and he opens his eyes like this, and he leans into me and says, you just don't want to answer the question. And I kind of took issue with that, and I don't like anybody pointing a finger at me, but I pointed a finger at him, and I said, I am not answering the question. I am not psychic, and I'm not answering this question. And the attorney for the patient said to me, well, that's the reason why you don't want to answer it. Yes, I'm not psychic and I'm not speculating. So the intimidating attorney kind of leaned back in his chair and he says, well, maybe we got off on the wrong foot. And I'm like, yeah, you got 2 wrong feet and 2 ugly shoes. Well, he almost fell off the chair. He's what's wrong with my shoes? Is there something wrong with my shoes? Why don't you like my shoes? Meanwhile, the court reporter is recording everything. It was very funny. And then even after the deposition, he said to me, you really don't like my shoes? What's wrong with these? So it was very cute. And a couple of years later, a family member with my same last name came across his path, and he said, are you related to Dr. Cathy Lomartra? And she says, yeah. She didn't like my shoes. So I guess the moral of the story with this is, if a man chooses to be disrespectful, I'm sure that he probably has his own insecurities, and maybe somebody needs to let him know that he needs to gain a little bit of respect.
I like it.
Thank you.
Excellent.
All right.
Now we're going to move on to art,
moving on to art.
Because you are an emerging artist.
Yes.
And I really wanted to start with what looks like part of our set, but it's not. You handmade this vanity table, which I think is amazing.
Yes.
So tell us about the table.
Thank you.
Where did you get the inspiration for this, and how did you do it?
Well, this is actually my 3rd piece of furniture. My 2nd piece of furniture was a console table that I handmade for my older daughter who moved out, and I wanted to give her a housewarming gift, and I made it for her. And my 2nd daughter came and said, well, I never got a vanity. I'm a little salty. I'm like, I didn't even know what salty meant, but salty? Didn't sound good. She said, well, I want a vanity. So I decided to surprise her, and this actually turned out to be a piece of furniture that can do 3 different things. I call it a jewel van con, because she wanted a vanity, and she wanted specifically the vanity that was going to have the mirror just like this in the middle. Mm-hmm. Well, I went 2 steps further, and both of these other ones open as well with mirrors. Fantastic. And it's lined with pink velvet on the inside. The top is mother of pearl. These are mosaic glass tiles, because I also do mosaics. And the Handles are onyx and rose gold, and I designed the whole piece, and she absolutely loves it. And I know that my kids are going to be treasuring these and passing them down. So it meant a lot to me to have something that I'm thinking down the line my grandchild is going to have and say, my grandmother made this. Or, my great-grandmother made this. So hopefully it's gonna stay around down a few generations.
Well, it's absolutely beautiful. And
Thank
I know you did this for your daughters. You have
Yes.
two lovely daughters.
Yes.
But did everyone in your family encourage you? I believe you had mentioned your father was not as supportive. How did he feel about you starting a completely new venture and building furniture?
Well, what happened was I wanted to create an art table because I started painting. That's how I got my start with all of this. And I wanted a 6-foot by 3-foot table, and I wanted to make it. So my boyfriend, John, and I were over at my parents' home. So I was telling my dad, I really want to make this table. And he looks at me and he said, stick with what you know. Well, this is my father, supposed to be like the most supportive person. And I said, well, what do you mean? Stick with what you know. In other words, being a chiropractor. So he's like, well, how old are you anyway? What do you want to start a project like this at your age for? How old are you? I said, I'm somewhere between 30 and 100. And he says, nah. He says, you don't want to get into it. Too much for you. You don't want to get into this. So, we left, and it just put a little bug like right there. The next day, it had been on my mind. And I said, the next day, I figured out how to do it. I called Home Depot. I was all by myself. I didn't tell anybody. I called Home Depot, and I said, hello, Home Depot. Do you have this wood in stock? Yes. Could you cut it to my specifications? Yes. Would you load it in my car? Yes. If it doesn't fit, will you deliver it? Yes. See you in 20 minutes. Went up there. There was a young man in there who did everything that I needed to create this table, got me the wood screws, got me everything I needed, got it home. I didn't tell a soul. And my neighbor, first thing Monday morning, saw me at like 6:30 in the morning working on it. And he comes over, he says, what are you doing? And he's a carpenter. So I told him, he says, no, you want to use wood screws. He said, here's my tools. Oops, I gotta go, bye. I'm like, where are you going? I don't know how to use this. I had wood shop in 7th grade. That was my extent of my knowledge of woodworking. But that was Monday morning. By Thursday, the table was completely done. And my parents came to the house for Easter, which was the following Sunday. And I said, look at the table I have. Like a typical man, they kind of shake the table. He says, sturdy table. So you bought this table. I said, I made the table. How rude you were to me. I made the table. And he had this look on his face almost like, it was like reverse psychology, which I guess I'll never know. But I would have gotten to the table probably, this was like March. I probably would have gotten to it maybe August, something like that. But he just put such a torch under my butt to get this thing done that it was done in 4 days. So I actually thank him for this. And then the next was the console table, and the third was the vanity, the jewel van con, because you could put jewelry in there. You could use it as a vanity and put your makeup in there, or you could use it as a console table, maybe put a piece of glass and then like a lamp on it for when you first come in your house, and you come home from a hard day's work, you flip the light on, and this is what you see.
Well, this is definitely an amazing thing. I love it. And I love that you suddenly just decided to do it, even though Dad said you should stick to what you know. Yes. But I know you didn't stop here. And when you opened this, I noticed some things inside. Could we just talk about those? Because
Sure.
I know you also do other art, so I thought it's right there. Let's talk about this.
Well, I do have a confession to make. I am a total YouTube junkie. Total junkie. There are people with such extraordinary talents and abilities and creativity, and they share their knowledge, which I'm so grateful for. And I've just seen other artists and what they do online on Instagram or on YouTube especially, and I just learn from them. And it's easy. I just kind of do what they do. And this is called I love my vintage crystal. So I went out and found vintage crystal like this, and these are called acrylic pours. So I'll put the paint in, the different colors that I like, and then I use something called resin, epoxy resin. It's clear. It's a clear coat with sparkles in it, and I don't know if the camera can pick that up, but it's sparkly. I've got a couple of them that are here. And
look at this one.
Yep. And I love the ocean. I love the sea.
I was just going to say, it looks like, I feel like I'm looking at a seascape.
Yes.
I definitely feel the ocean in that. That's just beautiful.
Thank you. And they're really trinket dishes for, you're at the sink and maybe you're washing dishes and you don't want to have your rings on, so you put your rings in there. Because I noticed that with sometimes I'll go to friends' homes, they'll be leaving their jewelry all over the place, and it's like, you can't do that. It's going to end up in the trash can down the drain. So it's a nice little thing to have, just to have a place to put it.
Beautiful. Just beautiful. And I know you didn't stop here. So you're building furniture, you're creating trinket dishes, and then you started painting. Now, before I show your paintings, how did you learn to paint?
Well, the reason why I did start was because for many years I've learned how to cook, and I got very good at it. But I would make a lot of food. I mean, a lot of food. I mean, once it starts snowing, I think food. And there's football on, or there's movies on, like on the weekends in the afternoon. You're kind of stuck in the house, so I just cooked up a storm and would eat. So I wanted to do something new and different. So on YouTube, Bob Ross, who he's been passed for almost 30 years, but I think he's more popular now than ever. There's over 500.
Bob Ross is so popular.
Love him, love him. And I just kind of scrolled, for whatever reason, I just kind of scrolled through his videos, because his Joy of Painting, all of his videos, I don't know how many seasons are on YouTube in their entirety. So I found a painting that I thought I could do, and I literally just went and bought one canvas, a little bit of black paint, a little bit of white paint, a foam brush, and a regular brush. And just would stop, rewind. But I had a finished product, and my family loved it. John loved it. Kim and Nicole loved it. And I was so terrified, but I put it on Facebook. And the comments, the feedback was so positive. And you did that? That's your first? Really? You did that? It was so positive. It's like, oh, I did that. So then before you know it, I have the center island in my kitchen with permanent easel and just the black, the white, a couple paintbrushes. But then before you know it, I'm spreading to the counter, I'm spreading to the table, there's paint all over. And then within 3 months, I looked at my daughter, I said, I need a studio. I'm going to turn the front room that nobody uses into a studio. She's like, thank God, because everything was spread all over the place. So cleaned out the kitchen, put everything in the room, and I have my art table, which I created then, and then put everything in that room, and now that's my place, and that's where it goes. But anybody can do this, and if somebody wants to paint, and I will tell you, in Brantford, I'm fourth generation in town. Brantford, when I was growing up, used to have the businesses would offer their store windows on Halloween, and we would be able to go. They went to the schools and said, okay, whatever business, here's the store window, and you get to paint it. Well, me and a little girlfriend, we're talking like 6, 7, 8 years old, for a couple of years could go paint the window. Oh my God. And there's no pictures of the store windows, probably for a reason. So it kind of implanted back there, I can't paint. I found myself saying, can't even draw a straight line. What am I thinking about painting? So anybody that's out there that thinks, oh, I can't, there's no way I could do this. There's no way, I know I
they
can't
can do it, right? They should be encouraged to do it.
But you know what? You just go for it. Nobody has to see it. People will be amazed. I'm amazed with what's coming out creativity-wise.
And I need to show that now. So I know you are amazed. I'm amazed by what you've done.
Thank
and
you.
I love your story about Bob Ross and starting there. But I just want to show a couple paintings of yours that I love. But this one is just my favorite. So here you are, an emerging artist, and you did this, which I think is just stunning.
Thank you. This is my Eastern medicine woman.
Yeah, and we have just a few minutes left, so what I'd love you to do is just tell us real quickly about this, and tell us about the art show that you had, because part of what brought you here is not just that you paint and you put it on Facebook, but you had an art show already.
Oh, my first year painting, literally my first painting sold in 2.5 months, and I sold 25 paintings my first year with 5 commissions, with people saying, I really like that painting, will you paint that for me? So talk about encouragement. It's like, gee, maybe I really am good. And then, and this is why I'm saying, if this, in at my age, for this to start
now and to be selling paintings, that's
yes.
amazing.
And so this is the first like official online class I am taking that I paid for. It's an intuitive painting class, and it's again, it's just it's a skill. That's all it is. It's like nobody knew how to write their name. You don't come into the world knowing how to write your name or to walk or do anything for that matter. They're skills that you'll learn. If you can learn how to write your name, you can learn how to paint. And you just find what you love to do. And I love landscapes. I love women. This is called the art of allowing, and this is the divine feminine. So this is what I'm painting now. And the art show I had a week ago Sunday was to benefit a foundation called Kid You Not. Sally McVeigh McCartan started this foundation. She gave a kidney to an acquaintance, and nobody helped her financially. So she started a foundation to assist living organ donors. So I sold, out of 21 things I brought, 6 sold, and 100% of the proceeds went to Kid You Not.
Oh my goodness,
Yes.
that's great. So I just wanted to show this one too while you were talking about your art show, that this is just another beautiful, beautiful piece.
Again, the divine feminine. She is Twilight, she is Twilight Moon, Wind Dancer, and she is carrying a bouquet of flowers. And what's prominent also is the scarf that she's wearing. It's freedom. And she's celebratory. That's what I want. And again, I love the ocean, so she's dancing on the beach. And just the wind, and again, just the freedom and the celebration. And this is what I think about this phase of life. Every phase is wonderful. It's what you make of it. I love life now. It's wonderful.
It's a wonderful age, right? Your children are grown.
Yes.
You have freedom to do what you want,
Yes.
and look what you have done.
Yes.
I think this is just wonderful. Let me just put this down. So congratulations on your art show and your art.
Thank you, Lynn.
Just tell me, what is your next project? I just want a little glimpse of the future. Are you working on something now, or are you considering another piece of art?
I am. The next one that I make is going to be a light gray. I'm probably going to just have one going at a time, but painting is almost every single day, and travel. I truly do want to go photograph wildlife. I would love to get more in nature and travel and just really enjoy seeing the world. And that's what this age can afford, because you think about it, what are our commodities? First is our attention, certainly, but it's our time, our energy, and our money. That's our commodities. And at this phase of life, I'm very blessed, I'm very thankful, and I'm breathing. I'm moving. It is a beautiful world with beautiful people in it and beautiful things going on all the time. I want to see the world.
Fantastic. I love it. And you said, we were talking before, that you actually brought sort of a little piece of that home. You have your own show, right? You've done healthy living for years in Brantford. And you had talked about bringing your travels back with you, that you did a lot of shooting when you were in the Mediterranean and brought back a lot about those recipes, right? And
Yes.
the healthful eating in the Mediterranean. So wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being our guest at a certain age.
It was a pleasure.
And thank you all for watching A Certain Age, where we celebrate women who are doing amazing things. I'm Lee Hayes, your host. Please join us next time. Goodbye.